So this is a tutorial on how to make these scrunchies. To do this, you will need some hairbands, you will need some yarn. I'm using Rickaroomy Spin. You can use whatever yarn you like. Now today I'm using the gorgeous pink Rickaroomy Spin. To start, what we need to do is make a loop over our finger. Then we're going to bring the hairband up. You're going to place the hairband on top of the hook, then the loop on top of the hook, and then you're going to pull the yarn this side of the hairband, and we're going to chain one to get it joined. So just hold this crochet end over here, get that back on the hook, and then chain one. So remember, to chain, you wrap and pull. That's one chain. Okay, now we're going to work on some single crochets, and we're going to single crochet around the whole hairband. So to single crochet, what you do is you poke, you pull, and then you wrap and pull this through both. So poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. And this is a single crochet, so poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. If you use UK terms, this is called a double crochet, just to confuse everything. Okay, so poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. And we're just going to do that until the whole hairband is covered in single crochets. So poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Poke, pull, wrap, pull through both. Right, now we know what the stitch is. I'm just going to do it without explaining, but you just single crochet around the whole hairband. When you have covered this tail sufficiently, if you haven't, don't worry, we can sew it in afterwards. I did forget to mention it. But once you have covered this tail sufficiently, just chop it off, and then your job will become a little bit easier because this tail will not be in your way. Any of the products you see in this tutorial, you can buy from us as well. So we do sell the Tulip Etimo red, which I'm using at the moment. I'm using a 3.5, and we do sell the Rickaroomy Spin. I'm just making a little bit more space for a few more stitches. You don't have to, but I think it looks more frilly and it looks more cool if it's more frilly. So I'm just going to do it again, a little bit more space. Right, and then what we're going to do when we get to the end, I'm going to do one more, is we are going to slip stitch into the first stitch. So to slip stitch, what you do, find the first V, that's your first stitch there, look, and you're going to poke your hook through, and then you are going to wrap and pull, and then this one is going to go through this one, that is a slip stitch. And then for the next round, what we're going to do is we are going to chain 3. So remember, you wrap, pull, wrap, pull, wrap, pull. And this is going to count as your first treble, or that's US terms. And if you're using UK terms, then it's going to be your first, I believe it's called a double treble. But anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the yarn around, not once, but twice. This makes our treble stitch. Then we're going to poke it into the same stitch that the chain comes out of. And we're going to wrap and pull, and then we're going to wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and that is a treble. So we're going to wrap and then wrap again, then we're going to poke into the same stitch, and then we're going to wrap again and pull, and then you're going to wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. So we're going to wrap and wrap again, and then we're going to poke into the same stitch, we're going to wrap and pull, and then we're going to wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. And the aim is we want 4 trebles into each stitch. So we're going to wrap and wrap again, and then we're going to poke into the next stitch. Wrap, pull through, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. So wrap and wrap, into the same stitch, wrap again, pull through, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. So wrap and wrap into the same stitch, wrap and pull, wrap and pull through 2, wrap and pull through 2, wrap and pull through 2. So in that one I've only got 3 at the moment, so we need one more. So we're going to wrap and wrap, going to poke into the hole, wrap and pull through, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. So that's how you do the stitch. Okay, now we just need to put 4 into every single stitch, and I think you will like how they come out. I do. I never expected them to look so pretty. And you can just take your time here, obviously. It's quite hard to get tutorials done because, you know, you can only put a 10-minute video up. So once I've explained it a good few times, then I sort of speed up a bit. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you have to go this fast. But yeah, this is literally just the same stitch now into every single stitch on the hairband. Just 4 trebles. What I'm going to say is I would pause the video here if you're still going, because I don't usually do this, but it's a lot of stitches and I can get the tutorial into just 2 videos if I just skip straight to the end. But if you pause and then when you're ready, resume, you'll see what to do at the end. So I'm almost at the end. I've just got 2 more stitches to do my double trebles, or my trebles in. I think that's what they're called in UK terms, double treble. But there's 1, 2, 3. This bit is a bit tricky, it's just that everything gets in the way, but it's so worth it, promise. 4. And then last stitch, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip stitch into the top of our very first chain 3. Actually no, I'm going to do it into the first stitch, I've changed my mind. So I'm going to pop my hook through, I'm going to poke, then I'm going to yarn over and pull, and then this one is going to go through this one, just like that. And then I'm going to snip my yarn off further down, so that I've got a bit of a yarn tail. I'm going to bring my tail through the loop, so I'm going to wrap it around the hook and just pull it straight through. And then it's just a case of sewing in our end. So let me show you how I do that. First I thread a needle, and then I always turn it this way, and what I do is I just go back through some stitches, so not the whole stitches, I go back through the bar of the stitches. So I'll go through that bit, and then I'll go through this bit, oops, and then I will go through this bit, and then I'm back at our very first row of stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the needle through some of the stitches around the hairband, and this will just secure it in place. This is a bit of a tricky job, but honestly, the more secure it is, the better. Maybe it's better if I try and do it like that. And I'm just going to go through, it doesn't have to be a lot of the stitches, but it has to be enough that it's not going to come undone easily, you know. So I think that is enough stitches, so I'm just going to pull it out here. and then I'm going to snip this end off